Hi there, welcome to our Indie Birth Alliance Summer 2020 Education Series. My name is Jocelyn Williams. I am a neurodevelopmental movement consultant and I will be your host for this evening. The Indie Birth Alliance, also known as the IBA, is a group of birth professionals empowering a healthy birth community through support, service, education, and advocacy. We have been pleased to have our Summer 2020 Indie Birth Alliance Education Series, which has been taking place each Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time since August 3rd. We have had a variety of guest speakers and will continue to have a variety of guest speakers. We've talked about many different topics such as breastfeeding support, doula services, fertility coaching, pelvic floor physical therapy, postpartum care, spinning babies, VBAC, the infant developmental sequence, and more. We have 3 more weeks left in our series, so we encourage you to go ahead to Eventbrite and register for our next event. Okay, so the way our evening is going to work, it's about an hour-long presentation, give or take some time. We're going to begin with introductions. We'll have our guest speaker, then we'll talk a little bit about neurodevelopmental movement, and then we will wrap up. So why don't we go ahead and begin? First and foremost, I'd like to introduce to you Jamie Fiano. Jamie Fiano is a CD Dona Birth Doula, a Beachbody coach, and mother of 4 kids ranging from 1 to 10 years old. Jamie is a birth doula with a passion for empowering moms during pregnancy and postpartum care. She encourages moms to ask questions, seek second opinions when necessary, access education, and to care for themselves without guilt. That is like water to my soul, that we as moms can take care of ourselves without guilt. Jamie wants to be the help that she never had during her first pregnancy before she knew better. Tonight's event is entitled Caring for Yourself Now and Later. And our topic is exercise, nutrition, rest, spiritual health for pregnant and postpartum mamas. So let's define what a birth doula is. A birth doula is one who generally comes alongside a pregnant mama and her family. She provides support, education, resources, and emotional, physical support before, during, and after labor. So, Jamie, welcome. We are so glad to have you here with us tonight. We'd love to hear what made you become a doula, and what are you most passionate about?
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. The reason why I became a doula was I was very into natural childbirth and not taking medication and not, doing all the things perfectly. And just like I had this idea of a perfect pregnancy, labor, and birth and postpartum experience. And I took a 1-hour class, free class at the hospital. Didn't really learn a whole lot. Went into my birth basically with no information and kind of got laughed at our thought of wanting to do a natural childbirth, and by our doctor and some by the staff. The nurses were more supportive. But it just seemed like I was hitting roadblock after roadblock the whole time I was at the hospital. And my OBGYN said, you wouldn't have a kidney removed without being numbed, and anesthesia and all that. So why would you want to do this? And, I was just crushed when she said that. I thought we had a plan worked out, and it was just intervention after intervention and just unnecessary things. And overall it was okay, but I felt like my husband was clueless, I was clueless, and we were just all alone in it. And it would have been really nice to bounce some of my thoughts and concerns and fears off on somebody else that could help me navigate, like the whole birth experience. And my best friend's mom was actually a doula, and she offered to be my doula. And I thought, oh, I don't need it. We're good, And as soon as that process was over and I was home, and we had to go back to the hospital because of jaundice. My baby had jaundice, and we were there for several more days. And it was just, I don't know, it was just not ideal. And I remember telling my best friend's mom, like, I'm going, I'm sorry I didn't get the help from you that I wish I had. And I will do everything I can to help other moms, to get more education and just steer them in the right direction of what they can do to have the best birth experience, within reason. I mean, you can't control it, but I just knew from that moment on, I'm going to help other moms to figure this out and to be educated, because, I wasn't. And I was just young and dumb and thought I knew everything, and I didn't. So then it started the long process of me getting involved in some doula training, and it didn't really take off at first because I was working full time, and it was pretty hard to go to a birth, when I'm working full time, and I had child after child, and I just really felt like God was telling me over and over and over not to stop, keep pursuing it, keep helping moms, don't stop just because you're not doing it full time. You can still help people. And so I kind of look at it as a ministry and work. And, it's just always been a passion of mine over the past 10 years to help other moms. And now I get to do it for work, and it's kind of the best job you can have, and I just absolutely love it. So I'm very happy.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
so what is one of the first things you would want your mamas to be educated about?
Okay. I think one of the first things I would want my mamas to find out is that they have choices. And just because one provider or one person says this is what's going to happen, it's okay to seek out a second opinion, or to ask people, or find a doula, or find somebody who find somebody that might know a little bit more than you, and to navigate that. Because I think a lot of people just hear what their provider says, shake their head yes, and move forward with it. And there's a lot more possibilities, and you can ask more questions, and you don't just have to say yes and do it, because they're not your authority, they're your provider, and you're there to work together. And I think that's probably the best, probably the first thing I would tell people. You don't have to just say yes and comply with everything. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to find out more information. So I wish I would have known that.
That's awesome. Are there any particular hospitals or birthing centers that you would say are more inclined to giving moms those choices, or more choice friendly, or?
Yeah, I think as time goes, more and more hospitals are realizing that moms and dads are getting more educated. And it seems like the more hospitals I'm at, and the more I work with different places, that I see that they're really trying. They're not all perfect, obviously, but like out where I'm at, I'm out east, and there's a lot of rural clients and things like that out this way. And, they choose the hospital that's closest to them. And sometimes that's not the best. But like I've worked with lots of hospitals in Indianapolis and Community North, Hancock Regional, IU. I've not been to the birth centers yet, but I'm sure that they're very good. But yeah, it just seems like that's becoming more and more the norm, that they're more willing, depending on the doctor, they're more willing to to hear you out and to let you have some say in your birth. So that's a good thing.
I've heard many of the doulas in this area speak very highly of Sacred Roots Birthing Center. So that's a great spot that, from my understanding, allows mamas to make some really great choices for themselves and for their families.
Yep.
That's awesome. So one of the topics that we wanted to kind of dive into is, how does a mama who's expecting, or either she's expecting or she's just given birth to baby, or how on earth does she make time for herself? Whether she's a new mama, a seasoned mama, an expecting mama, how does she make time for herself? And, you know, one of the things that we talked about even in preparation for this time was that it's so important for mamas to care for themselves without feeling guilty. How do you do
that? I learned how to care for myself over being terrible at it for a long time, probably even up until probably a year or two ago. And I think it's just like internally driven into a lot of mothers' heads, you know, that you serve, and you come last, and you know, like, I think it's the typical thing of, you know, not getting a shower for 3 days, and, you know, you eat last, and, you know, just, I mean, it can be like that at times, but that's no way to sustain a life, you know, especially if you're having multiple children. And, you know, like me, I've had children every 2 years. So it's like, just as the time I'm figuring things out, I'm pregnant and sick again, and it starts all over. And I think just having a plan and telling your partner and your family in advance how they can help you, instead of just letting people say, you know, let me know how I can help, you know, like half the time you're half dead on the couch, you know, like don't even have the energy to reach out for help, or you feel guilty about your house being a wreck, or, you know, being dirty, and, you know, just, you don't want someone to come to your home and see what kind of mess you're in. So I think, you know, it's really important to, especially if you have people near you. I know it could be hard for people that don't have family near or friends near, but if you have people near, and if you have a partner, you know, plan things in advance. Like, I'm going to be sick for this amount of time, or, you know, I'm going to need extra rest for this amount of time. You know, and just tell the expectation, you know, I need you to do this, this, and this. And on this certain day, maybe you can come watch the other kids, or, you know, come to the house and let me nap and help with chores. You know, if you're having a baby shower, don't ask for, you know, if you don't need so much, maybe ask for people to come over and help instead. You know, or plan meals that they can bring. And I think that can be hard to ask for help in that way, but people don't know how to help you unless you tell them. Because sometimes people truly don't want help and don't want you to be there, and it's a bother. So I had to really do that with a lot of my clients, you know, like telling them it's okay to ask for help, telling people exactly what they need, when they need it, you know, and even getting a big table calendar, setting it wherever you are at, your command center, the kitchen, or the living room, or your bedroom, and scheduling out things for yourself, you know, making sure you check off the list every day or every other day, you know, that you've showered, or that you've eaten vegetables with it, you know, as much as you can, and eaten healthy food, and utilize grocery delivery or grocery pickup. You know, schedule 30 minutes, you know, every night to soak in the bath. You know, honey, here's the baby. If baby cries, you know, you're on for 30 minutes, you know. I think it's just, I know, you know, for myself, I felt guilty for the longest time. If the baby was crying, then I would, you know, I would just do anything, you know, give me the baby. I want the baby. And sometimes it's good just for the dad to go be with the baby somewhere. And, you know, if they're crying, it's okay. You know, if they've just eaten, especially if it's a newborn, you know, they've eaten, you know, they're getting used to other people. And I mean, it's hard if you're up all night and you're the only one doing it. And, if you can't get help at night, at least get help during the day or in the evening, and just take all the help and ask for all the help that you can. And shower. I feel like that's such a underutilized thing. I don't think I ever missed one shower ever in the whole time I've in my childbirthing years. And like, I literally could not get anything accomplished if I did not take a shower. And even if I just, took a shower and put pajamas back on day after day, at least I was clean. And I just felt like I could do things more instead of, just laying around and not getting anything accomplished. So
I'm thinking about the brand new mama who's expecting, who's never had a baby before. And she doesn't even know what she doesn't know. Like, she probably doesn't even have an idea of what exactly she's going to need help in until the moment it may go, oh, I need help in that area.
Yeah.
And so what I've heard you say that could be helpful for brand new mamas is making sure you have somebody available scheduled so you can take a shower. Make sure you have somebody available scheduled so you can soak in a bath and have a healing process going on for yourself. Make sure you get some sleep. So schedule it on time where you get sleep and refresh. And so is there anything else that a brand new mama, like, one thought that came to my mind is even having meals prepared ahead of time.
Yeah.
If you can. I mean, that's not always realistic, but if you have a special diet or if you like to eat particularly healthy, to actually have a freezer full of meals or quick shakes that you can turn to when you're hungry. Because when you're a brand new mama, and especially if you're nursing, you're hungry all the time.
Yeah, definitely. I think definitely prepping lots of meals and putting them in the freezer just so you can get them out. That's definitely a must, and it is exhausting and you spend a lot of time prepping it. But like, if you're not, if you want to eat, especially if you want to eat healthy, because a lot of times the food that people do bring you is not so healthy. You're thankful for every meal that you get.
Sure.
But a lot of the meals that we got were, carb heavy. And we have a lot of food allergies in our family. So it's really, I just told people not to worry about it. Just bring what you can, we'll figure out who can't eat it. But yeah, and having lots of, high protein snacks and fruits and veggies cut, chopped, ready to go, just so you can just grab them and eat them. And that's definitely a big one. I think people will go half the day, not even eat and wonder why they're so exhausted. If you're not putting food in and you're just burning all day, it's going to wear you out.
For those that are in this location, so we're located in Fishers, Indiana. So I'm thinking of the expecting mamas in this area. I think a great gift certificate would be to a place like Clean Juice, so that they can have delivery and a good healthy meal or a good healthy shake to sustain themselves. So so they may not want a meal, they may want a gift certificate. So just something to think about. So while we're on the topic of food, if a mama is pregnant or nursing, can she eat whatever she wants? Is that okay?
No. You will regret it. If you eat whatever you want, you will regret it. I think that's a big myth, or at least a fantasy of some people. They think, oh, I'm pregnant, I'm just gonna, I can eat whatever I want. And, they think it's, they almost laugh about how much weight they gain, and just how tired they are, and just how, just everything's falling apart. And it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be the norm. And I think it's really important that people do some nutrition education and see what is appropriate. A lot of the childbirthing classes offer nutrition information, but not all of them do. Sometimes it's just as basic as, here's your body, here's how the baby comes out, see you later. But along with my Beachbody coaching, we have a lot of things on the Beachbody website or on the app that are specific for pregnant or prenatal and postpartum moms, so they know what they should be eating instead of just, wolfing down whatever's in front of them, whatever sugary treat that they want. Obviously, in the first trimester, it's super hard to eat any kind of healthy, I think, when you're sick and you just want anything you can to make yourself feel better. But, once you start feeling a little bit better in your second trimester, don't just keep on eating whatever you want, eat protein with a good carb, fruit, vegetables, protein every few hours, every hour and a half if you need to. Because sometimes by the time you're eating again, it's been too long and you're crashing. And when I was pregnant with my first son, I ate Pop-Tarts and whole milk every morning and McDonald's for lunch every day. And like the worst, SpaghettiOs and meatballs, my feet were super swollen. I just knew nothing. And I felt horrible all the time. I had to take a nap every day at lunch. Not that there's anything wrong with taking a nap, but I took a nap because I felt horrible. And, I would drink all kinds of sugary things and wondered why I was so exhausted and laughed at my 50-pound weight gain. And then afterwards it was really hard to get it off because, I developed the habit of eating that way. And it is certainly not a good idea to eat whatever you want when you are pregnant or postpartum.
Do you have any tips for mamas who are particularly nauseous, especially the first trimester? Are there any particular foods that can help kind of calm that down? And then are there any particular foods that can actually help if mama chooses to nurse after the baby is born?
Yes. I think it's not necessarily a specific food, but it's how often you're eating. Like I said, a protein and a carb together to sort of balance it out and help it to maintain your blood sugar over a period of time. So maybe, a handful of nuts and an apple or some cheese, a hard-boiled egg, a banana, peanut butter, a salad with chicken, just simple things like that. Some people say that ginger helps settle their stomach, or peppermint. It never really helped me, but I know it has helped other people. Drinking lots of water, but just sipping, don't chug and have a stomach filled with water. That can sometimes make you feel sick. But just eating often, just a lot of small things often will really help with nausea during pregnancy. And postpartum, you will be so hungry. There's no hunger like postpartum hunger. And it's okay to eat more, as long as it's healthy food. You might just be eating a little bit more chicken or a little bit more whatever with your meal, as long as it's, a little bit more, but still stay on track. Maybe like butternut squash, things like that are good carbs instead of like French fries, or, sometimes a cheeseburger is the only thing that sounds good, but maybe ditch the bun and, just try to doctor it up a little bit to give some health benefit to it. Every now and then you'll definitely eat what you want, but for the main idea, eggs, whole wheat toast, things like that. But it's okay to eat more, but just don't go crazy, because sometimes it can just make you feel even more tired if you're overdoing it.
Well, that's great advice. And that leads us into talking about exercise. So is it okay to exercise before, during, and after pregnancy? And what are some safe tips that you can give a mama who wants to exercise when she's expecting and after she's given birth? And even when should she start? Should she wait 6 weeks? What does that look like? And this is a disclaimer. We're not providing any medical advice here. And so we do advise mamas to double check with their medical providers, make sure that you are safe and that you get a well check for yourself. And we're just kind of offering some insights here. So with that said, Jamie, what are your thoughts on that?
You can definitely exercise while you're pregnant. sometimes it's hard to get started at first because you are so tired, but a lot of times it can actually give you a boost of energy and help you to get moving. So it doesn't have to be anything intense, especially at first, just walking 30 minutes a day, or, just moving, just not laying down and being sedentary, is really good. But with the Beachbody program, we have a new program that just started a few months ago, that's specifically for pregnant mothers, and it's trimester, by trimester. So there's certain things you can do at the beginning, middle, and end, that'll be appropriate, and you can modify based on, what you're comfortable with, or if you've never worked out before, and you're just starting in your third trimester. There's good plans on there that can help you figure out what to do. But you never want to overdo it, or if you feel lightheaded or dizzy, or you just aren't feeling well, you should stop immediately, lay down and rest, drink something, and keep an eye on that, because if that continues to happen, definitely before you even start, talk to your doctor. But if that's happening consistently with your workouts, then you should definitely talk to your provider and see what's going on, or see if maybe you should stop, or if just something's not right with your blood pressure. And also, if you feel any heaviness when you're exercising, heaviness in your pelvis, there may be something you're doing that's a little too extreme. So it's really good to be checked out by a pelvic floor specialist, physical therapist. And you can do that during your pregnancy, but especially postpartum. If we're talking postpartum exercise, I would not just have your baby and then just start working out. I think yoga, there's postpartum yoga that you could do that's just gentle stretching and things like that. But anything cardio, or there's just a lot of workouts that could have a chance that wouldn't be appropriate for you if you just had a baby. So some people say 6 weeks, but that's not always true for everyone. Being checked out by a provider or a physical therapist to be sure that everything's okay and that you're well enough to start working out would be more appropriate, rather than just 6 weeks. Okay, go running, because that can actually do more damage than good on your back and your pelvic organs. Usually you can tell if something's not right when you're working out, or you're having pain, or you're having constant lower back pain. So there's a lot of people out there that can help, but don't just jump into it thinking I'm going to burn off this pregnancy weight tomorrow, and because overdoing it could be detrimental.
Definitely detrimental if you're overdoing it. You do not want to overdo it. Yeah. One of the best exercises that worked for me was walking. Mm-hmm. I walked all the time when I was expecting, and I just felt like it gave me a lot of strength during labor, and I was grateful that I was able to do that. So great advice, Jamie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so we talked about taking good care of ourselves, eating well before, during, and after pregnancy, and we've talked about exercise. Now, what about rest? What about rest? Why is rest and spiritual health so important?
Well, rest, I think, is another thing that's overlooked, like a luxury. It's a luxury to rest. And it's actually biblical to rest. And, even if you're not a believer and you don't read the Bible, or if that's not something that you do, it's just very smart in order to get yourself to rest, and to not just sit up late at night, when your baby's sleeping, thinking, oh, this is the only time I have to myself. I'm just going to sit up and mindlessly, watch movies or be on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, because then you pay for it overnight and the next day. And it can be, and if you're doing that night after night, it just, you never catch up on your sleep. I mean, you can't do that for a week and then sleep in on Saturday and think you're good to go. You know, so it's really important to try to truly sleep when your baby sleeps, even if it's for 10 minutes, you know, just to doze off during the day, but to just get yourself to sleep at a good time in the evening. And it doesn't necessarily have to be sleep, but, you know, it is good to rest, just be in a quiet place that's dark and there's not all these things going on, and, you know, stimulating your mind, and, you know, maybe read, do a devotional. There's just something that happens when you read, you know, it helps you to wind down and it gets your mind thinking about good things. You know, if you have something good to read, you know, it helps your mind focus and just to relax, and helps, especially at night, you know, it can just help you wind down so you can relax instead of, I think a lot of people probably even reading on your phone, you know, just having the bright light in your face. It can help, you know, it disturbs your sleep. So it can help if you're reading an actual book, you know, a paperback book. And it's just a lot less stimulating, so you can relax. But resting in bed, sleeping more, resting during the day. And sometimes you just have to tell your partner again, you know, I need more sleep. What can you do to help me? Or here's how you can help me. Or, hey, mom, you know, or dad, or babysitter, can you come and, you know, stay with me during nap time, or come in the evening? Or if your spouse works in the evening, you know, find someone that can come to your house and spend time with the baby, or just make sure everything's taken care of while you rest, especially newly postpartum, because, you know, you never get that time back with your baby, and wearing yourself out from the start is just not smart. And but your spiritual health is really important too. You know, if you're not just centering yourself and you're always just go, 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 go. I mean, especially for me, I'm very like ADD, like all over the place. You know, you can probably tell with how I'm talking and moving that I just, you know, I struggle stopping and resting and just doing stuff for myself. And it's just really important to just sit in a quiet space for, you know, 5 minutes. Like we have a space in our basement now where we can just go and, you know, it's just dark, and just coming down here and just get just get your thoughts together for a few minutes, or just write down some things that you need to do, because sometimes your list goes on and on and on in your head, and, you know, you just can't get ahead of it, and you just have all these things you need to do. And journaling, you know, journaling your thoughts, journaling what you're reading about. If, you know, if you are reading the Bible, like what do you feel like God's telling you when you're reading the Bible, you know, and write it down so that you don't forget, because as soon as you close the book, you know, you're moved on with your day. And, you know, having some prayer time, and just getting alone and just letting your brain just shut down for a little while is just really important.
That is really important. I know for me, I have 5 kiddos, and sometimes just closing my eyes for 3 minutes is so refreshing. And when they were little and I just needed a break, I would put a towel over my head and just go under it, a kitchen towel, and literally go under it and just pray because I just needed a moment to regroup.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just an awesome practice to just take a moment of time to recenter, regroup, refocus. It is so life-giving. Just very quickly, we're going to start wrapping up this portion of our evening. Where would a mama find, or her family find, a quick and easy way to connect with God and refuel spiritually when she doesn't have a lot of time? And I think that's another important topic, because sometimes, especially for brand new mamas, when they've had freedom to spend a lot of time taking care of their spiritual needs, and all of a sudden they don't have a whole lot of time to do that, they can feel guilty. And I just want to release any mama of that feeling any guilt, because there's a season for everything. And in that season of taking care of that precious little baby, that is in my opinion, a form of worship. When you are dedicating, you're not worshiping the child, but you're taking care of that baby is so very important. And so, and there's lots of ways that you can do that with the baby. But in any case, I'm going off on a rabbit trail, forgive me. What are some quick, easy ways to connect with God and refuel spiritually if the mama doesn't have a whole lot of time?
So for one, get out your Bible, sit it on the couch, not the couch, sit it on the counter, wherever you're going to be, right next to where you're cooking, or right next to the couch if you're nursing a baby or whatever. Just have it open all the time. Just flip through it if you can. Just look here and there. If you're just too beat to just have something regular, just having it open and reading your Bible every day, just a few lines, and just pray like, God, help me to do whatever you're saying here. You can also download a Bible app called YouVersion, a Bible app, and there's millions probably of devotionals on there. You can type in whatever topic that you're struggling with, or, just something simple, how to read the Bible in a year, or, something to help new moms, or anxiety, or, just different things. You can just type in a topic and look up a devotional, and it'll send you an email to remind you every day. Don't forget to read your devotional, and it'll pop up, and you can just click on it on your phone and read it, and, just spend a few minutes with God, and, journal if you can. You can take notes in that app also, but journaling it on paper, like I'm a paper and pen kind of gal, I like the real stuff, and then I can look back later and see what I was thinking, or, where my mind was. And, just even a few minutes of prayer. If you can't spend lots of time praying and reading like you used to, just a couple minutes, like you said, is okay. Don't guilt yourself into thinking, oh, I didn't read a whole chapter, or I didn't read this whole book, it'll come in time. I have 4 kids, and I read every single day. And I used to think, when am I ever going to have time to read again? And it comes quickly. I read every single day. So that's just a little way that you can connect and find an accountability partner, another mature believer, that's maybe ahead of you, that can walk with you in that, and pray for you and support you in your motherhood. I think that's it's really something that's not happening these days, and it's okay to seek somebody out. Help me.
Absolutely.
So that's probably my best advice there.
Jamie, you sound like you would be a great doula. I wish I would have had a doula when I gave birth to my children. Thankfully, I did have family. I did have a support system at the time, but it's such a wonderful service and gift that you and Sally Wiggins and Carly Melentine and so many other women offer to doulas in this area. And so thank you for being on with us tonight. Thank you for talking to us about how important it is to take care of ourselves before, during, and after pregnancy. Thank you for speaking to us about the need for rest, the need for exercise, and healthy nutrition. These are all so important. And one quick topic that we just want to briefly touch on tonight is, now baby is here. Baby is here with us, okay? So we had doula kind of walk that season with us, and now what do we do when our baby's with us? And one of the things that we talked about today was how important it was to exercise. And believe it or not, it's super important for our babies to get lots of exercise from birth. And one way to do that is by making sure that they have tummy all the time, that they go through this process called the infant developmental sequence, where they have the opportunity to be on their tummy at least 50% in a 24-hour period. And that sounds like a lot of time, but it's so important, because when they're on their tummies, they are getting so much exercise, and that exercise is actually helping to develop the lower foundational levels of the brain. Next week, in our event, in our webinar next week, we're going to dive more into this process called the infant developmental sequence, but I just wanted to give a quick little introduction here that this is an important element, an important part of the baby's life. It equips them in such a powerful way. It's just amazing. I have a particular client that I worked with, and true story, she was an infant, she was in ICU, she was placed in a foster care home. So here she is, an infant, already going through lots of trauma, right? The odds are stacked against her, and she could not eat on her own. She couldn't even poop on her own. And foster care mom brought her to me, and we went through this process called the infant developmental sequence that we're going to dive into more next week. And it was amazing to watch this precious little girl develop. So much so, and this is a true story, I can verify it for anyone who wants it, so much so that she can now eat on her own, she can drink on her own, she can poop on her own. They changed the course of what they were originally planning for her, instead did a different surgery, reconstructed her small and large intestine, and she is doing phenomenal. She was discharged from early intervention. Beforehand, excuse me, here it's called first steps. I'm from New York originally, and we call it early intervention there, but here we call it first steps. And so she was discharged early. Everybody was so surprised at how well this precious baby did. And in fact, Mama sent me a picture of her today, and she is now 2 years old, and she is just thriving, and she's even got a little sass. So I'm so proud of her, and she's a true testimony of how important the infant developmental sequence is. And so we're going to talk about that more next week. So those of you who are online with us tonight, you can look in the chat bar and you can register for next week's event. For those who are watching the recording, you can go to Eventbrite and just do a search, Indie Birth Alliance Summer Education Series, and it will pop up and you can register and you can join us next Monday, September, what's the date for next Monday? I don't even remember the date for next Monday, but it is next Monday. We're nearing the end of September here, and it is at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So Jamie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And let's see, I think we may have a question here that popped up in our chat. So let me throw out this last question before we wrap up. It says, hello, first of all, thank you so much for being here and sharing this with us. So kudos, Jamie, great job this evening. I had a question about exercise. Before being pregnant, I worked out 3 to 5 days a week with weights for about 45 minutes, 1 hour each workout. I have been very nauseous during my first trimester and haven't felt up to exercising nearly as much as I usually am, since I get nauseous and tired easily. I'm still trying to walk at least 3 days a week and do low-key yoga and stretches, but would like to get into exercising more as I start feeling better. Is it okay to slowly work into a heavier workout in my second trimester if I continue to feel better?
Yes, the answer is yes. If you're feeling better, then yes, definitely hype up your exercises a little bit as long as you're feeling okay. I'm not a pro on weights, lifting weights, so I can't really give you any good insight on that. All the weights that I do are 3 pounds or less, and that's about all I can do. But yeah, lifting weights is very good for you in general, but I would have to find out more about what weight was the most safe. But yeah, I would definitely just keep walking, keep doing more, and it's definitely safe. If you want to ask your doctor about what to do, if it's safe for you, then definitely do that. But there's nothing wrong with you could work up to the very end of your pregnancy, workout every day if you want, as long as you're feeling good. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually really, really good for you. So go for it.
That's awesome. Just make sure that you're not straining yourself.
Yes.
Too much, don't cause any strain. That would be important.
Yeah.
That was a great question. Well, Jamie, Thank you so much for being on with us tonight. As we wrap up, is there any one last just golden nugget that you want us to leave with? Like if we missed everything and we could only hear this one piece of information, what would that be? What would you want to tell our audience tonight?
I would just say, just let go of guilt. You know, I mean, there's a million things that you could do to take care of yourself, but let go of the guilt of needing things for yourself. It's okay to have needs. It's okay to ask for them. And something that's like a little side tidbit that I forgot to mention was something called diastasis recti, which is abdominal separation. After you've had a very large belly, there's certain sizes that you can't or won't be able to do for some time after you have your baby, like crunches and different things like that, or running, that could be really bad for that. If your muscles are separated, they don't just zip right back together. You may need some physical therapy to help with that, or some different exercises that are they're going to slowly help knit that back together, or at least closer together than they were. And you can do a lot of damage if you're just jumping right back into things. So that was just something I forgot to mention, because I've struggled with that through all my pregnancies. And just if you have a belly pooch that just won't go away, and you can't figure out what the problem is or why, that's probably what you have going on. So have that checked out by a physical therapist or your doctor, and they can, or a doula, and have somebody. Your doula can't check it out for you, but they can help give you some resources on what to do to help with that. But yeah, just don't feel guilty for taking care of yourself. It's not selfish. It's okay. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's such great information for us. We really appreciate having you. And I just want to thank our participants for being with us tonight. I do need to make a date correction. I was a little bit ahead of ourselves. Next week, we're actually going to have, our guest speaker is going to be Carly Melentine. And Carly believes in the ability of a woman to birth her baby wherever and however she is most comfortable, whether it's at home, a birthing center, or a hospital. And I love this quote: "My job is to support you and your partner in whatever that looks like to you, whether it's a natural birth, medicated, or otherwise. Your partner should be as active in your labor and birth as their comfort level allows, and I will support the both of you in that. The mind-body connection during labor is an amazing tool at your disposal. I believe when a woman is in labor, she should move around as much as she needs, working with labor and not against it. Her goal is that each mama has a satisfying and wonderful birth experience, however you define it." Join us next week to hear from our guest speaker, Carly Melentine. She's a birth doula, CD Dona, HCHD CLC. And you can join us next week to learn what all those acronyms mean. I love Carly. She has become a friend of mine, and you will not be disappointed. So again, just a quick correction on the dates. Next week, September 21st, Carly Melentine will be our guest speaker. And then the week after that, September 28th, then I will be speaking in more detail about the infant developmental sequence. Again, my name is Jocelyn Williams. I am a neurodevelopmental movement consultant. I am the founder of Neurolly Solutions, and it has been an honor to host our Indie Birth Alliance Summer 2020 Education Birth Series. It has been a pleasure to be on this journey with you. Thank you for those who come back each week. Thank you for those who are watching our recordings for our next event. Please go to Eventbrite to register. Just simply type in Indie Birth Alliance Education Summer Series 2020, and you'll find us there. You'll also find us on social media. You can just, on Facebook, find us at Indie Birth Alliance Community. It's been a pleasure. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Have a good night.